Arabia. This presentation will be discussed under the following subheadings, and this will range from location and activity straight down to new technology. For more technical details, I'll be inviting my honorable distinguished teammate to come and speak to you more on
location activity. Ghawar field is oil field located in the eastern part of Saudi Arabia. In a region called the empty quarter in Al-Hassa government, about 200 kilometers from the Riyadh, the capital city of Saudi Arabia. The oil field measures 280 kilometers by 30 kilometers and was discovered in the year 1948 and 1951. The production began. Although Ghawar oil field is a single oil field, but it's divided into 6 areas, which are the Ain Dar, Hadda, Shaddam, Farzan, Uthmaniyah, and Hoya. Ghawar is entirely owned and operated by Aramco, Saudi Aramco. Ghawar is the world's largest oil field. Currently produce around 5 million barrels a day. And also it produces 2 billion cubic feet of associated gas and 5.2 billion cubic feet of non-associated gas. It produces between the 50 and 70% of Saudi oil altogether. And it's also produced 6.4% of the world's production. Until the year 2010, Ghawar produced over 65 billion barrels of oil. And the proven reserve of the field is around 70 billion barrels of oil. And now I will continue with my colleague Finney to continue the presentation.
And actually on drilling equipment. Drilling equipment basically comprises all the drilling tools required to extract the crude oil from the subsurface. And this will include all the components of the drilling rig and other subsurface tools. Here it represents the generalized drilling system, and you can see the most dominant feature here is the derrick. It ranges from the crown block straight down to the drill bit, but for time factor's sake, we have to pick on 2 major ones we have to discuss, one from the surface and one from the subsurface. The two are to be the swivel. That is how it looks like. The swivel is actually that part of the drill string that allows rotation. It also performs other function. It supports the weight of the drill string, and it also provides the pressure tight connection for mud circulation to take place. It's also got what we call the gooseneck, and this part actually receives the drilling mud for circulation. And the next one, which is probably a new one to most of us, will be the magnetometer. It's not part of the drilling rig, but it's introduced actually to save time and money sometimes. It's called a magnetometer. It detects the smell of hydrocarbon, and it does this with the help of what we call electronic noses, known as sniffers. And as you can see there, that's the way it works, and that's how it looks like. That's about the magnetometer. And the last but not the least about drilling equipment will be the drill bit. The drill bit used at Ghawar oil field is called the Tricone drilling bit. The Tricone drill bit is one of the most versatile in the market. Why? Because it can handle varying information. As we all know, if we have information we're drilling through, it's got mostly interbedded, and some are soft, some are hard. But this one can handle very information, so it can save us time and it saves us money. So that's why it's used in Ghawar field. If you look at this one, this is the exact drill bit used on Ghawar field. For more details, I'll be introducing my honourable teammate, Mohammed, to tell you more on
drilling fluids. Thank you very much. Talking about drilling fluids, the drilling fluid on Gawara oil field is water-based mud, but once it gets to a reservoir, it uses oil-based. The drilling fluid mud functional, it brings all the rocks cutting to the surface, it lubricates the drill bits, it cools the bits, it controls corrosion, and it maintains workable stability. This is the mud circulation system, and we've got a pump there. Pump is sucks mud from the mud pits. We've got pipes and pumps. It connects pumps to the drilling apparatus. We've got mud return lane. It returns mud from hole. We've got shell shaker. It separates rocks cutting from the mud. We've got shell slide. It conveys cutting to the reserve pits. Reserve pits. It collects rocks cutting separated from the mud. The mud pit is where drilling mud is mixed and recycled, and mud mixing proper is where new mud is mixed and then sent to the mud pits. And thank you for introducing my colleague Tom to talk about
completion types. The completion types depends on the type of completion, like the reservoir. It depends on the reservoir quality, the environment, and the rate of expectation. You can see this is the open or hole multi-stage factory system, and you can see that this is the frac port and that's the isolation factory system. And a ball drop mechanism is used to isolate the treated zones from the untreated zones. And a coupling will flow back and then clean up the borehole after the use of the open hole manufacturing process. And this has helped to improve moderate-sized reservoirs in the system. This system takes place in a hole, which is like a drilling place. And when this takes place, like when this takes place, then you can see that that's the isolated packer system. You can see like the difference, like that's the ball drop, and that's the frac port. When this takes place, then the system, when it gets to a total depth, in the system, then the system is being packed to another location of the system. Then we have the second part, which is the frac pack completion. This is used to increase sand control and high productivity. And this was introduced and adopted as a completion designed to help to minimize conductivity damage. And this is due to like solid flow back control additives to reduce partial penetration effect. As you can see, that's the tubing, and that's the liner, and that's the sand, and that's the reservoir. And this is used in vertical wells where the wells are really like perforated, and this has helped to improve the productivity of the wells in the system. Now I'll pass it over to my colleague, Ahmed, to talk about.
I'm going to be talking about the environment around our oil field. There are some regulations set by Aramco for the environment. First of all, they have to maintain all the sewage discharge disposals, industrial drainage, trash, rubbish, oil-based mud, toxic fluids, and water-based mud and effluents. And the highest risk they face in Awar oil field is the breakout of hydrogen H2S. Aramco makes sure that all people working have full training in case of H2S emergency. There are two national regulations that pertain drilling regulation, the Royal Decree and the Meteorology and Environmental Protection Administration. The MEPA is the one most responsible for any environmental regulation that have to be maintained at any Aramco. Thank you, and now Mohammed Naimi will be presenting.
Safety and protection. Safety always has been a consideration for Saudi Aramco. And safety here is going to be underlined to human factor and also the safety regulations and the development of the equipment. For the human factor, there are several programs, training programs for them, as communication of the staff, and the new staff has the pre-hazard assessment too. And also there is a